Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, I'm going to be sharing a couple player props that I do like on Prizepicks for tonight's NBA slate on Tuesday, May the 9th. We do have, once again, two games tonight on Tuesday. We got Game 5 of the Celtics and Sixers series, and then we have Game 5 of the Nuggets and Suns series. Both these series are tied at 2-2, so these are some very pivotal games, really important games. So hopefully we do see some good basketball tonight, some competitive games. We did have some pretty good games on Monday night, especially that Lakers-Warriors game. That one was really fun to watch, was down to the wire. Hopefully we get some more of the same tonight, but I got two player props that I do like for tonight, guys, over on Prizepicks. I got a fantasy score prop, and I have a points prop I'm liking for tonight. I do have a play that I like from each game, so we're going to talk about these two plays. We're going to share why I like them. Before we do get started, though, breaking down the plays, if you guys do enjoy these Prizepicks videos and if they do help you out, make sure you hit that like button down below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And if you guys are new to the channel, if you have never checked out Prizepicks before, you can sign up for Prizepicks and use my promo code Noah. When you do sign up for Prizepicks with my promo code, you will get your first deposit matched up to $100. So be sure to check them out. If you have not yet, use that code. When you do sign up, you'll get your first deposit matched up to $100. You can take a look at all the player props that Prizepicks has available for tonight's NBA games. You can take a look at all the other props they offer as well for a bunch of other sports. Besides NBA, Prizepicks does offer a ton of different sports in all different markets. You can mix and match sports on Prizepicks. You can make multi-sport entries. It's a lot of fun. Again, you guys need to be playing over there, and you make sure to use that code Noah when you sign up so you get your deposit bonus. But before we do talk through our two plays for tonight, I want to recap the two plays we gave out in Monday's video. So Monday was a really frustrating day. We did hit one of our plays, one of our two plays. We took the over on Draymond Green's fantasy points at 30.5. Draymond barely went over. It was kind of a sweat. I think he finished with 31.5 fantasy points, so he went over by one fantasy point. He did go over, though, with like 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I think he did have a turnover late in the game that put him down to 31.5, but luckily, still went over his fantasy score. He had like 8 points, 8 rebounds. I think he had 7 assists, and then he had like a block and a steal. He did have like 5 turnovers, but still, did enough to go over his fantasy score. Unfortunately, though, we took the over on Josh Hart's fantasy score, and if any of you guys tailed that play or if you took an over on Josh Hart, I mean, obviously, you saw what happened. I mean, for one, we kind of got screwed because Josh Hart was a late, announcement that he was not going to start. He has started like the last 5 games in place of Quentin Grimes, but the Knicks decided to change up the starting lineup. They wanted to get more spacing, get more shooting, so they went with Grimes. They put Grimes back in the starting lineup over Hart. So we were already kind of, it was already going to be an uphill battle trying to get Hart to get over his fantasy score line coming off the bench just because he was not going to play as many minutes off the bench. Not only did he only play like 21 minutes, I mean, he played like complete shit. He didn't do anything. He had like 2 points and 2 rebounds in 21 minutes. He fouled out. I mean, it was just a horrible game from Josh Hart. Obviously, I would have never took that play had I known he was going to come off the bench. But, it is what it is. Sometimes that kind of stuff happens. There's really nothing you can do about it. You just, you just take the loss and you move on to the next day. So, got a new slate today, Taco Tuesday. So let's see if we can make some money today, guys. And let's talk through the two picks I like for this slate. So first off, we're going to start off in the points prop category. Got a points prop that I like in this Celtics and Sixers game, and it's going to be Jaylen Brown's points prop. Jaylen Brown's points prop on Prizepicks right now sits at 23.5. This line definitely feels a little bit too low for me, too low to me. And if you look at Jaylen Brown so far in this series, he's only gone over this line in 1 out of 4 games in this series. But every single game he's gone under, he's lost by the hook. He's had 23, 23, and 23 points. So I feel like 23.5 points is kind of like a floor line for Jaylen Brown here. I mean, you look at those 3 games where he went under. So last game, he shot 10 for 16 from the field. He shot 0 for 2 from the free throw line. He did get some extended minutes because of overtime, but 10 for 16 was a pretty decent shooting game for Jaylen Brown. He missed 2 free throws, though, which is usually unlike him. The game before that, he played 34 minutes, had 23 points again, shot 8 for 18. I believe he was in foul trouble in that game. 34 minutes is definitely a low minutes game for Jaylen Brown. Normally, we see Jaylen Brown play like 40, 41, 42 minutes. So I'm pretty sure in Game 3 he was limited by foul trouble. In Game 2, he scored 25 points in 3 quarters. He didn't play at all in the fourth quarter in that game because that was a massive blowout. He had 25 points in just 30 minutes. And then Game 1, he took just 10 shots, which was really weird. He played 42 minutes. It was a competitive game, but he took just 10 shots. So it's kind of been like a weird series for Jaylen Brown. Like game 2, he was his best game by far, and it was a game where he only played 3 quarters. Obviously, this is a really big game, on both sides. This is kind of, one of the, usually if a series is tied 2-2, game 5 is like one of the most important games because, there's just, you get a ton of momentum if you're able to win game 5, especially with the Celtics playing at home here. You think this is a game they're probably going to win. They're favored by like 7.5 right now. But we're going to see huge minutes for Jaylen Brown. He's been playing huge minutes in the playoffs. We have seen a few blowouts in this series. Game 2 was a blowout. But we have seen a couple competitive games as well. In the competitive games, game 1, Jaylen Brown played 42 minutes. Last game was competitive. He played 44 minutes. Game 3 was relatively competitive, but Brown was in foul trouble, like I said. He only played 34 minutes. But again, the games he's gone under, he's gone under by the hook, 23, 23, and 23. And if Jaylen Brown loses and goes under by the hook today, it'll be tilting, but we'll live with it. But I feel like more times than not, when Jaylen Brown's playing 41, 42 minutes, I mean, he's going to probably score 24 points just with the usage he has, with the role that he has on the Celtics offense. I mean, the usage in this offense is relatively dominated by Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. So far in the playoffs, Tatum has led the team with a 27.9% usage rate. Jaylen Brown right behind him with a 26.6% usage rate. Next highest guy is Malcolm Brogdon at 23%. So we can expect really big usage for Brown, really big minutes. If he can just have a decent shooting game, the volume's going to be there, the minutes are going to be there. Again, this line at 23.5, it does feel too low to me. I know he's gone under this line in 3 out of the 4 games in this series, but man, like all 3 of the games he went under, he lost by the hook. Hopefully that doesn't happen tonight. Hopefully he can get us 24 points, and I think he's got a good chance to do that if he does play full minutes here and if this game does stay competitive. And even if it is a blowout, I could see this being a game where maybe the Celtics win big. So if the Celtics do win big, hopefully that means that Jaylen Brown's contributing to their scoring, and hopefully he has 24 points, even if they do potentially blow them out, which could happen, but I still like this over either way. So that's the first play I do like for tonight. And then the other pick that I like is a fantasy score prop going to the Nuggets and Suns game. I like Michael Porter Jr.'s fantasy score line of 27. Feel like this line is a little bit too low for MPJ. If we expect him to continue to play the minutes that he's played the last 2 games, you look at his fantasy score, he had gone under this line in 3 of his last 5, but the last 2 games he's gone over in both 35 fantasy points and 36.4 fantasy points. What really stands out is that these last 2 games, Michael Porter Jr. has played really big minutes. Last game in regulation, he played 41 minutes. The game before that, he played 36.5 minutes. The Nuggets, pretty much the entire playoffs, they've been running an 8-man rotation. They've been keeping things pretty tight. We have seen Michael Porter Jr.'s minutes kind of fluctuate so far in the playoffs. If you look in that series against Minnesota, Game 1 against Minnesota, he played 31 minutes. I believe that was a blowout. Game 2, he only played 29 minutes. But then Game 3, he played 40 minutes. Game 4, he played 41 minutes. Game 5, he played 39 minutes. So the minutes were kind of down on MPJ the first 2 games against Minnesota, but then the next 3 games, he played really big minutes. And then so far in this series against Phoenix, Game 1, I believe, was a blowout. He only played 31 minutes. Game 2, his minutes got cut way down. He didn't even play at all in the fourth quarter. Only played 23 minutes in that one. But now he seems to be back in kind of the good graces of Mike Malone. In the last 2 games, Malone's played MPJ 36.5 and 41 minutes. And what really stands out to me is that if you look at last game, even with Michael Porter Jr. not even like scoring the ball that well, like normally when Michael Porter Jr. gets benched or they just close with like Bruce Brown over him, usually it's because MPJ is like not contributing offensively. And what's really weird to see, or not even weird to see, but what's really good to see, I guess, is that MPJ played 41 minutes last game while shooting 4 for 13. That makes me feel pretty confident that he's going to get big minutes regardless of how he's playing. Obviously, if he's playing just like complete shit and he can't hit anything, he'll probably, he could see his minutes get cut. They could go with Bruce Brown over MPJ, but I think more times than not, MPJ is going to be in the closing lineup. More times than not, he's going to play 35, 36 minutes. And I like that this series is going back home to Denver. I feel like MPJ is a guy that does tend to feed off the home crowd. And we do a lot of times, especially like in the playoffs, a lot of times you do see role players play better at home just because it's a comfortable environment for them. They're able to feed off the home crowd. And I feel like that's kind of how MPJ is going to be. So I do like this over 27 fantasy score, especially if we expect him to play like 36, 37 minutes like he has the last 2 games. And if you look at Michael Porter Jr. this season, he has been a good per minute producer. So far, during the regular season, he averaged .95 fantasy points per minute, so he averaged close to a fantasy point per minute. In the playoffs, his per minute production has been down a little bit compared to the regular season. He's averaged 0.88 fantasy points per minute in the playoffs so far. But again, typically he's a guy that averages close to a fantasy point per minute. He can shoot, he can knock down threes. He's also a really good rebounder. He has had a double-double the last 2 games. He's had double-digit rebounds and double-digit points the last 2 games. And we've seen Michael Porter Jr. also be able to get defensive stats as well. I think last game he had a steal and a block. Defensive stats are huge because they are worth 3 points each. And if you can get a guy that can get a couple steals or a couple blocks, those can always add up when you take fantasy score. And then if you take a look at Michael Porter Jr. this season, in the games where he's played at least 35 minutes, including the playoffs, there have been, I believe, 7 games this season or 8 games. Yeah, 8 games this season where Michael Porter Jr. has played at least 35 minutes. He's over this fantasy score line in 6 out of those 8 games. And the 2 games he went under, he had 26 fantasy points and 23.9 fantasy points. So he came up just short. But again, given how the minutes have been for Michael Porter Jr. the last 2 games, 37 and 41 minutes, if we expect him to play around that number most nights, I would bank on him going over this fantasy score line more times than not. Like I said, there's a possibility that MPJ sees his minutes get cut. They could close with Bruce Brown over him, but I feel like as long as MPJ is knocking down his shots, if he's playing well, he's going to get the minutes. And especially with how tight Denver has been running their rotation in the playoffs, there should at least be a 25, 28-minute floor for MPJ. Like worst case scenario, he's getting 25, 28 minutes. And then obviously if things are going really well, you could see him play like 37, 38 minutes. So I do like this over 27 fantasy score for MPJ. We did play this a couple days ago when it was at like 23.5 then. Obviously, I wish it was that low, but the Prizepicks not going to put the line that low. But I still think with how the minutes are trending up for MPJ, with this line at 27, I still do like the over here. I feel like this line should be like 28.5, maybe 29. Again, it's hard on the with the playoffs, man. It's really hard to find a ton of props that stand out. I mean, you're going to be the plays you're going to be taking are going to be like really thin margins. I mean, if you can find a line that you think is like a point or 2 off, usually that's going to be pretty good to take in the playoffs. It's hard to find lines that are just drastically off. You're just not going to find that in the playoffs. The lines are really, really sharp. So if you can find ones that you feel like are maybe a point or 2 off, those are ones that I think you could definitely look at taking. I feel like both these lines, I definitely think Jaylen Brown's points prop should be like 24.5, 25. And I feel like MPJ's fantasy score should be like 28.5, 29. So I feel like these lines are a little bit too low. These are 2 plays that I do like for this Tuesday slate, guys. But this is what I'm liking kind of at first look, recording this video on Monday night. As always, I'll be sharing a few more plays for today over on Patreon. I'll probably be giving out some MLB plays, probably like 2 or 3 MLB plays, and then I'll try and find like another NBA play to give out on Patreon. If you guys want more Prizepicks plays from me, you can check out the Patreon linked down below in the description. You can see all that I do offer over there. But I appreciate you guys watching the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you hit that like button. If you did enjoy, hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. Also, if you aren't signed up for Prizepicks yet, get signed up over there. Use that promo code NOAH. When you do sign up, you will get your first deposit matched up to $100. But that's all that I got tonight, guys. Wish you the best of luck on the slate. Hopefully, we can all win some money tonight on Taco Tuesday, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.